Suppose you're a high school senior aiming for the most selective colleges, like Stanford, Harvard, or MIT. You know that most applicants to these colleges have excellent grades and test scores, so that alone is insufficient to be chosen for admission. But how much more do you need to accomplish to be admitted? The answer is that nobody can accurately tell you until they know more about you and your family background. And the reason this matters is because of what I call the ramp of expectations. In short, this means that in order to be admitted to these highly selective colleges, students from well-off families are expected to be much more accomplished compared to students from families without those advantages. This video will show what this means through case studies of students I have actually coached. Hello, my name is Prabhu Kavi, creator of Reach for College, the only YouTube channel dedicated to providing free advice about selective college admissions. For more information about me and why I am doing this, click on the video link above. This video is part of what I call my College Admissions 101 playlist, which will provide you with everything you need to know about how selective college admissions works in the United States. What you will learn here is most applicable for highly selective colleges, and I also recommend you view my video on the 6 tiers of college selectivity, which is linked to the end to understand how this changes for less selective colleges. Now, back to the topic at hand. One of the first things you learn about selective college admissions is that students are evaluated in context. In other words, colleges evaluate a student's accomplishments relative to the opportunities available to them. A simple example of this is that if your high school only offers 3 AP classes, and if you took all 3 and did well in each of them, you are not compared against a student that took 8 AP classes because you had no chance to do so. I think most people will agree this makes intuitive sense. Of course, you can't judge students against opportunities they don't have. But what many don't realize is just how different those expectations for admission become for some students versus others as a result of this. This is why chance meet threads on Reddit's Applying to College or on College Confidential are mostly worthless because most people don't understand the importance of how students are evaluated in context. Before I go any further, I want to pause here and say that what I'm doing is laying out the facts about the admission process so that every applicant can be more informed about their chances when it comes to college admissions. Importantly, I don't want anyone to misinterpret this video to suggest that students with fewer opportunities have it easier in terms of selective college admissions. These students often go through challenges that those from wealthier families will never understand, and only a small fraction of talented students in this category even apply to college in the first place. Those admitted to selective colleges from this group have very much earned it. With that out of the way, let's go back to the ramp of expectations once again, but slightly modified this time. On the x-axis, we are showing family advantages. This reflects the admissions officer's mental framework of the student's family income and wealth, and therefore the opportunities the student had to achieve his accomplishments. Admissions officers at highly selective colleges have a few ways to build the framework of what family advantage means. The first way is through what's known as a school profile. It's typically a 2-page document that is sent to the college by the high school with every student transcript. It contains varying information. There's no standard format, but some of the things it contains suggest the wealth of the overall community, including the percentage of students that attend 4-year colleges versus 2-year colleges or no college at all, and the number of AP classes that they take. Second, many colleges access a service from the College Board, yes, the same people that create the SAT, called Landscape, which provides both school-level information such as the percentage of students that receive reduced price lunches, which is a measure of poverty, and test distributions for the SAT or ACT, as well as neighborhood-level detail such as the median income for where the student lives. Finally, the student's essays, counselor letter, and types of extracurriculars may provide additional suggestions about the student's family's income and therefore the opportunities to shine. For example, students from lower income families are much more likely to work in fast food or in a grocery store compared to higher income families where they tend to do academic enrichment. And in case you're wondering, admissions is separate from the financial aid department, which in highly selective colleges is almost always need blind. And those two groups don't share information. In a way, you can think of admissions as not being need blind, but actually being need adjusted or need affirmative. On the y-axis, we have an overall assessment of the student's objective achievements. This considers everything in the application, including the student's transcript that shows both grades and rigor, standardized test scores, if any, the quality of recommendations and essays, awards, and other measures of impact in the extracurriculars. And in the chart, we are showing three areas. The area in yellow is for accepted students, the area in dark orange for those who are rejected, and in the middle, we have an area for those that are waitlisted. So let's talk about the profile highlights of 3 students I coached and that all applied to MIT in a single year. To respect the anonymity of each student, in this video, I'm just going to call them Alex, Bob, and Charlie and hide some details which could be identifying. But I tried to reflect their overall strength and achievements so you can understand how vastly different these applicants are. Alex had a 4.0 coming out of high school. In fact, all 3 of these students had either a perfect transcript or a nearly perfect transcript, and they took the most rigorous curriculum available to them in their high school. Alex also achieved a nearly perfect score on the SAT and was a National Merit Finalist. His other accomplishments included making an impact in his volunteering activities and significant regional recognition for science research. Bob received a 1420 on his SAT, but since we're talking about MIT, I want to note that he received a 780 in math. He also took AP Calc in his junior year and received a 5 on his AP exam, so it's clear he has the math strength that MIT looks for. He was also a varsity athlete in 2 sports and spent much of his time after school either working or being involved in the community. Charlie received a perfect score on the SAT and was also a National Merit Finalist. He is extraordinarily strong in math and has won national awards in mathematics twice. He also received a national award for Latin and is a varsity athlete. He also had numerous other accomplishments that we can't list here. I also want to pause and make a quick comment that none of these applicants are in a special preference category that gives them a higher chance of admission relative to others. The most common preference categories are legacy or a recruited athlete. None of these were legacies, and in any case, MIT doesn't consider it. And while MIT does give a mild preference towards athletic recruits, none of these applicants were applying as recruited athletes either. So based upon what you know so far, which of these students do you think were admitted? Which ones were rejected? Any of them waitlisted? Take a few seconds right now and think about it and kind of lock in your answers. Okay, now let's look at the context in which these students had these achievements. Alex attends a public suburban high school, which, while it's not nationally known, it's considered one of the very best in the state. The parents own their own home and live in a neighborhood full of working professionals. Bob attends an inner-city magnet school. His family lives in a rented apartment, and his parents earn modest incomes that makes Bob eligible for free lunches at his school. His essays describe the affordability challenges he faced while growing up. Charlie attends a private school that almost any admissions officer across the country would know. The family lives in what's known as an expensive community, and the parents are retired. Based upon this additional information, did you change your mind about who was admitted, rejected, or waitlisted? Time for the results. Alex ended up waitlisted at MIT. I ended up putting Alex right in the middle of family advantages, not because he comes from an average US family, but because his family background is pretty typical of MIT applicants. Also, although he was waitlisted at MIT, that conveys a great deal of information. Each college treats its waitlist differently, but MIT only accepts about 4% of its applicants, and waitlists only another 2%, meaning 94% are rejected. So being waitlisted at MIT means feeling just short of being accepted. In a way, being waitlisted conveys more information than being accepted or rejected. Because if you were accepted, you don't know if you were enthusiastically accepted right away or barely accepted after much committee deliberation. Likewise, with a straight-out rejection, you don't know if your application was competitive or not. Next up is Bob. Bob is clearly toward the lower income level of applicants that apply to MIT, and therefore he ends up towards the left side of the graph. Bob was also waitlisted like Alex. Given that their vastly different academic and extracurricular profiles, it should be clear to you that Alex and Bob were not directly compared with each other. Instead, their achievements are put in their context of their opportunities to shine. Finally, we have Charlie, who is clearly among the more advantaged applicants that are applying to MIT. It might shock you to learn that Charlie actually ended up being rejected at MIT. Yes, it was kind of a trick question as to who got accepted, rejected, and waitlisted. Now, this initially surprised me as well because I've coached multiple other students with accomplishments like Charlie, and they were accepted to MIT. But I realized that their family profiles were more similar to that of Alex. Now, don't be worried for Charlie, as he got into Caltech and 3 Ivies. He'll be fine. But it goes to show you just how difficult admission to MIT actually is. And if you're wondering about Alex and Bob, don't worry about them either. Alex is attending an Ivy as well, and as for Bob, MIT was the only top 20 college he applied to. For everything else, he only applied to colleges that were close to home, and he received a full ride at a top 40 college that's just a short train ride away. He will be the first in his family to attend college, and I'm happy to have played a small part in helping making that possible. I hope you found this video helpful to understand how highly selective colleges look at both your achievements and your individual circumstances before making an admission decision. And since you've made it this far, please click the like and subscribe button, as that tells me you found this video valuable and it encourages me to make more of them. I also welcome comments about this video, as well as suggested topics for new ones. I will read every comment and respond to questions. Together, we can make this a supportive community about selective college admissions. If you still want to learn more about college admissions, I highly recommend this video where I break down the 6 tiers of college selectivity and how the requirements for admission vary across each one. Until next time, cheers.